Let me ask you something, bro. How many times have you told yourself never again, only to find yourself right back in the same heartbreak, the same confusion, the same pattern? You said you'd walk away. Oh, you swore you learned your lesson. You promised yourself you'd never go back. And yet you did. Again, if that hit a nerve, you're not alone. Because this video isn't for the perfect woman with a perfect life. This is for the woman who's strong on the outside, but silently breaking inside. The woman who's tired of pretending everything is fine, while repeating the same painful mistake over and over again. This is for the woman who asks herself in the dark, why do I keep choosing people who hurt me? Why do I let the same situations steal my peace? Why do I feel stuck no matter how much I try to move forward? You're not crazy. You're not weak. And you're definitely not alone. It's the truth no one told you. We don't keep repeating the same mistake because we're foolish. We repeat it because somewhere deep inside a wound is still bleeding. A part of you is still searching for love, for validation, for something familiar, even when it's toxic. It's not about intelligence. It's not about how many times you've been warned. It's about how you've been conditioned to see yourself. To believe that struggle is normal, that pain is proof of love, that sacrifice equals worth. But today, that cycle ends. This isn't just a motivational video. This is a mirror. The mirror that will show you what's really going on beneath the surface. A mirror that will help you understand the hidden reasons you keep reliving the same lesson. And more importantly, a mirror that will help you walk away with your dignity, your power, and your self-worth intact. Because this time you're not just watching a video. This time you're facing the truth. This time you're choosing yourself. We're about to dive into the real reasons women keep repeating the same mistake. From emotional dependency to low self-worth to the pressure of society's lies. And then we'll talk about how to finally break free. So if you're done crying over people who never saw your value, if you're done shrinking to be loved, if you're done settling for less, when you know in your soul you were made for more, keep watching. Because the woman who keeps making the same mistake is not who you're destined to be. The woman you're becoming, she breaks cycles. She sets standards. She chooses herself unapologetically. Let's begin the trap of repetition, why women keep going in circles. Let's start with a hard truth. Many women are stuck in emotional cycles. They know they need to break, but somehow they keep repeating the same painful patterns. They say, I've learned my lesson, and yet the next chapter looks eerily like the last. The faces change, the settings change, but the result? The same disappointment, the same disrespect, the same emotional aftermath. Because cycles don't end just because you want them to. They end when you heal the reason they began. New women think they've moved on just because time has passed, but time alone doesn't heal wounds. Awareness does. Until a woman understands why she keeps attracting the same pain, she will unconsciously gravitate back toward it. It's not about intelligence, it's not about common sense, it's about emotional wiring. We don't repeat mistakes because we enjoy the pain. We repeat them because our nervous system has been conditioned to find familiarity safer than uncertainty, even when that familiarity is toxic. So a woman might leave the man who hurt her, but then fall for another version of him with a different name and a different face, because her inner wound is still unhealed. And sometimes the cycle isn't even with relationships, it's the cycle of neglecting herself. Putting everyone else first, saying yes when her soul is screaming no, overworking to prove her worth, silencing her voice to keep the peace, choosing what feels easy in the moment instead of what brings freedom in the long run. The truth is, many women keep repeating the same mistake because they haven't yet learned how to choose themselves without guilt. They haven't yet separated their identity from their pain. They haven't realized that being loved shouldn't come at the cost of their self-respect. And this is where the suffering begins, not from the outside, but from within. You see, the first time you fall for the wrong person, it's a mistake. The second time, it's a lesson. But the third time, it's a message from your soul. Something inside me still needs to heal. So if you find yourself in the same situations, don't judge yourself. Get curious. Ask yourself, what am I still trying to prove? What part of me still feels unworthy? What am I afraid to face if I finally choose differently? Because freedom begins the moment you stop blaming the world and start reflecting inward. You are not weak for falling into patterns, but you will become powerful the moment you decide to break them. Emotional dependency masquerading as love. One of the deepest reasons women keep repeating the same painful mistake, especially in relationships, is because they confuse emotional dependency with love. And let's be clear, there's a big difference. Real love is rooted in peace, growth, mutual respect, and emotional safety. But emotional dependency? That's rooted in fear, insecurity, anxiety, and a desperate need for approval. Many women grow up in environments where love is inconsistent, conditional, or even absent. So they learn early on that they have to earn love, that they must please others to be accepted, that being chosen, even if it means being mistreated, is better than being alone. So when they enter adulthood, their hearts don't search for peace, they search for what's familiar. And what's familiar? The highs and lows, the confusion, the emotional chains. They need to prove their worth to someone who doesn't see it. This is emotional dependency, not love. It's that feeling of needing someone to validate you, fix you, or make you feel like you matter. It's waking up every day wondering if you're enough for someone who never makes you feel secure. It's constantly shrinking yourself, walking on eggshells, or staying silent just to keep the other person happy. It's mistaking anxiety for excitement and drama for passion. But love shouldn't drain you. Love shouldn't leave you questioning your worth. Love doesn't require you to lose yourself. The reason this cycle is so hard to break is because emotional dependency feels addictive. You become emotionally attached to someone who is inconsistent, thinking this time they'll change. But what really needs to change is how you see yourself. The moment a woman stops looking for someone to complete her and starts looking inward, something shifts. If she realizes she doesn't need to chase love, she needs to heal. She begins to understand that the pain isn't just about him. It's about the parts of herself that believe she had to suffer to be loved. And when that truth hits, the whole cycle starts to make sense. You weren't crazy for falling for him. You weren't weak for staying longer than you should have. You were searching for something outside of you that was missing within you. But you don't have to keep searching anymore. Because love isn't something you chase. Love is something you become. It's something you build within you so that no man, no friend, no situation can ever make you feel like you are not enough again. The day you learn the difference between love and emotional dependency is the day you stop repeating the mistake and start reclaiming your power, the silent power of low self-worth. Let's talk about something few people are honest about. Low self-worth. Not the kind that's loud and obvious. The kind that's quiet, hidden beneath smiles, ambition, and a heart that just wants to be loved. The kind that whispers, maybe this is all I deserve. Even as a woman pretends everything's fine on the outside. This silent belief is one of the biggest reasons women keep repeating the same mistakes in their lives, especially in love and self-respect. Because here's the truth, you will always attract what you believe you're worth. That's not what you want, not what you hope for, what you truly believe deep down inside. If a woman believes she's not worthy of respect, she'll tolerate disrespect. If she believes she has to earn love, she'll chase it. If she believes being alone means failure, she'll settle for being mistreated just to say she has someone. And the worst part, she might not even realize it. Low self-worth doesn't always scream. Sometimes it shows up as overgiving, as over-apologizing, as staying too long in places that hurt, as being afraid to speak up, to set boundaries, or to walk away from what doesn't feel right. It shows up in the way she downplays her pain, the way she accepts excuses instead of standards, the way she explains away toxic behavior just to avoid feeling abandoned. But here's the truth. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. And when your self-worth is low, you end up shrinking, silencing, and sacrificing just to keep others around. You settle for halfway love, for conditional friendship, for bare minimum effort. Not because that's all you want, but because that's all you think you can get. But here's what every woman needs to hear. You're not a backup plan. You are not an option. You are not too much. You are not replaceable. You are worthy of consistent love. You are worthy of being chosen without begging. You are worthy of being respected even when you're not convenient. And the moment you start to believe that, not just in your words, but in your actions, everything changes. You stop repeating the mistake. You stop letting fear guide your choices. You stop settling for less just because you've gotten used to it. Your worth is not defined by your past, by your trauma, or by the people who fail to see your value. Your worth is something you must own, protect, and defend, even if no one claps for you, even if it means walking alone for a while. Because until you value yourself, the world won't know how to value you. Society's lies and the fear of judgment. From the time she's a little girl, a woman is taught how to perform. Be sweet, but not too emotional. Be ambitious, but not intimidating. Be attractive, but not too bold. Be helpful, but don't ask for too much. In every corner of her life, society feeds her contradicting expectations, and somewhere in between trying to please the world, she loses herself. And here's the trap. When you're raised to perform for approval, you begin to make decisions out of fear, not freedom. You stay in relationships that break your spirit because you're afraid of being judged for being single. You tolerate toxic friendships because you don't want to be labeled too distant. You stay silent in rooms where you should be loud because you are taught that being agreeable is better than being respected. Society has taught women that being chosen by someone, anyone, is more valuable than choosing themselves. You see, it is glorified struggle and romanticized self-sacrifice. It applauds women who endure, even if what they're enduring is breaking them down behind closed doors. And what does this do? It creates a woman who fears judgment more than she fears staying stuck. She repeats the same mistake, not because she doesn't see it, but because changing course would mean disappointing the people around her. It would mean facing criticism. It would mean risking loneliness. It would mean reclaiming her identity, and that takes courage most people don't talk about. But let's be real, no one else is living your life except you. The people you're afraid of disappointing aren't the ones who wake up feeling empty in your place. They don't carry the weight of your regret. They don't sit in silence with the anxiety of knowing you've abandoned yourself again. At some point, every woman must ask herself this question: am I living for their approval or for my own peace? Because true freedom isn't found in how many people clap for you. It's found in knowing you don't have to perform for anyone. Not your partner, not your parents, not your friends, not society. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't need to explain your healing. You don't need to shrink yourself to be more palatable. You were not put on this earth to play small or stay silent. You were made to break cycles, not repeat them. To choose truth over tradition. To put down the expectations that never fit you in the first place, and finally walk in your power. So the next time fear whispers, what will people say? Let your soul respond. Let them talk. I'm done performing. I'm choosing myself now. When healing becomes a choice, not a dream. Here's the moment many women never realize they've been waiting for. The moment healing becomes a choice, not just a dream. You see, most women fantasize about a day when it finally clicks. When the pain fades, when the confidence appears, when the patterns stop. But healing doesn't arrive like magic. It arrives with intention, with the choice to do something differently, even if it's scary, with the choice to stop running from yourself and start returning to yourself. Because here's the truth. You don't heal just by knowing what went wrong. You heal when you decide you're done suffering the same lesson. The cycle breaks when you look at the situation not with blame but with ownership, not with shame but with clarity. You begin to ask yourself, what part of me kept allowing this? Why do I keep calling this pain love? Why do I keep going back when I already know how it ends? It's not easy. In fact, it's painful to be that honest with yourself. But that's the kind of pain that sets you free. Every woman reaches a crossroads where she can either continue in the same loop or face the root. The loop feels easier, but it leads to regret. The root feels harder, but it leads to rebirth. And when a woman chooses to heal, she doesn't just change her life, she changes her future, her lineage, her legacy. She becomes the woman who finally says, no more. No more proving her worth. No more calling red flags challenges. No more mistaking being wanted for being valued. She stops outsourcing her validation. She stops explaining her boundaries. She stops chasing people who walk away and starts becoming the woman who walks toward herself. Healing isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware. It's about catching yourself mid-armada and saying, this time I choose me. And yes, it will be uncomfortable at first. Because growth always is, you feel the urge to go back to the familiar, the easy, the predictable pain. But every time you resist that urge, you rewrite your story. You build new standards. You gain self-respect. You feel peace, not because life got easier, but because you get stronger. And that's when you know you're healing. When you no longer beg for closure, chase after clarity, or cling to what doesn't honor you. You're no longer just hoping for a better life. You are choosing it actively, intentionally, powerfully. And every day you choose healing, even in small ways, is one step further from who you used to be and one step closer to the woman you were always meant to become. You deserve to break free and rise. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she has to stop running in circles and start rising. No more blaming herself for what she didn't know. No more replaying the same pain and calling it fate. No more asking, why does this keep happening to me? And finally declaring, it stops with me. That moment is your awakening. It's when you realize you're no longer the woman who will settle for being second in her own life. You're not here to be silenced. You're not here to be tolerated. You're not here to keep proving your worth to people who are blind to it. You are here to evolve, to rise, to rewrite every chapter where you once felt small. Yes, you made mistakes, but so what? You stayed too long, you trusted too fast, you ignored the red flags, you gave too many chances. But guess what? That doesn't make you weak, that makes you human. You were learning, you were growing, you were trying to find your way in a world that never taught you how to love yourself first. And now, you know better. And knowing better isn't just knowledge, it's power. It's the power to say no without guilt. To walk away from what no longer serves you. To raise your standards and not flinch when people can't meet them. A woman who keeps repeating the same mistake is still trying to be accepted. But the woman who breaks the cycle has accepted herself. Fully, deeply, completely. And that woman, she's unstoppable. She no longer fears being alone because she finally enjoys her own company. She doesn't chase closure because she's already at peace with her choices. She doesn't beg to be seen because she now sees herself. She understands that the journey to healing isn't about finding the perfect relationship, the perfect job, or the perfect life. It's about becoming the kind of woman who no longer compromises who she is for anyone or anything. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your comfort if it costs your soul. You don't owe anyone the old version of you that kept shrinking just to be liked. You owe yourself this, to rise, to evolve, to protect your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. No more repeating, no more regretting, only reclaiming, because you, my sister, are worthy of more. Not someday, not when you're better, right now as you are, to stand up, stand tall, and walk away from the past like a woman who finally remembers who she is. Because once you rise, once you really rise, no going back. So now, after hearing the truth behind the patterns, the wounds, the emotional loops, and the pressure that so many women silently carry, the question is no longer, why do I keep repeating the same mistake? The question now becomes, what am I going to do about it? Because awareness is power, but action is freedom. You've seen how emotional dependency disguises itself as love. You've seen how low self-worth whispers, "This is all I deserve." You've seen how societal pressure forces women into silence, shame, and cycles that aren't meant for them. But now that you know all this, what will you choose? Because the truth is, you can't heal by staying the same. You can't evolve while clinging to what broke you. If you can't rewrite your story, if you keep rereading the same painful chapter, at some point you must decide that your peace matters more than their approval. That your healing is more important than their opinion. That your value is the negotiable, even when others refuse to see it. Yes, it's hard to walk away. Yes, it's terrifying to start over. But what's even harder? Living the same painful story for the next 5 years. Feeling the same confusion, crying over the same kind of heartbreak, explaining yourself to people who don't listen, and shrinking to fit spaces that were never meant for your light. You deserve better. Not someday, now. Not when you're perfect as you are. The woman you're becoming is not the woman who keeps tolerating less just to avoid being alone. She's not the woman who chases people to prove her worth. She's not the woman who stays quiet when her soul is screaming for change. She is the woman who says, "I have seen what settling feels like, I want more." The woman who breaks the generational cycle. Is the woman who heals even if no one else understands why. The woman who chooses herself even when it's lonely at first, because she knows what's coming is greater than what she's leaving behind. And hear this clearly. You do not need permission to evolve. You do not need validation to heal. You do not need to keep repeating lessons that your soul has already outgrown. You only need courage. And that courage, it's already inside you. So take a deep breath. Forgive yourself for what you didn't know. Honor the version of you that tried her best. And now become the version of you who chooses better. This is your moment. This is your turning point. This is where the cycle ends and your power begins. You cried enough. You learned enough. Now it's time to rise. Because the next version of you, he doesn't repeat. She rebuilds. She rises. And she never looks back.